The morning sun filtered through the streaked windows of Grace's community kitchen, a diner tucked into the heart of Atlanta's sweet Auburn neighborhood. The place wasn't much to look at: peeling paint on the exterior, mismatched chairs salvaged from church basements, and a jukebox that hadn't worked since 2003. But inside, it pulsed with life. The air carried the scent of fried okra, cornbread, and strong coffee, mingling with the low hum of conversations. Grace's wasn't just a diner, it was a haven, a place where the community gathered to eat, argue, and heal. On the wall hung faded posters of civil rights marches, local gospel choirs, and a single-framed Purple Heart citation, its edges curling with age. Every Saturday at 7:30 a.m., Isaiah Thompson walked through the glass door, his presence as steady as the ticking clock above the counter. At 67, Isaiah moved with a deliberate gait, his left leg stiff from an old injury. He wore a faded denim jacket, its sleeves frayed but clean, with a small patch on the chest, 1st Infantry Division. The patch wasn't flashy, and neither was Isaiah. His graying hair was cropped close, his eyes deep-set and watchful, like someone who'd learned to see trouble before it arrived. He'd nod to the staff, Miss Clara at the register, Jamal flipping pancakes in the back, and settle into his usual spot, a corner booth near the window, where he could watch the street come alive. Isaiah ordered the same thing every week: 2 eggs over easy, a side of grits, and black coffee. He'd unfold a dog-eared copy of the Atlanta Voice, sip his coffee, and eat in silence. The regulars knew him as Mr. T, a man of few words but endless patience. He'd helped half the kids in the neighborhood with their homework at the community center next door, fixed bikes for free, and once spent 3 hours teaching a teenager how to tie a Windsor knot for a job interview. But Isaiah never spoke of his past, not the war, not the medal, not the scars hidden beneath his jacket. On this particular Saturday, the diner was quieter than usual. A young couple shared a plate of biscuits and gravy, an elderly woman knitted in a booth, and a delivery driver scrolled his phone near the counter. Miss Clara, a wiry woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense glare, wiped down the counter while humming a hymn. Jamal, barely 22, peeked out from the kitchen, his apron smudged with flour. Everything felt routine until the door jangled violently, announcing the arrival of 3 young men. They were in their early 20s, dressed in oversized hoodies and sneakers that squeaked on the linoleum floor. The leader, Malik Carter, had a sharp jawline and a grin that dared anyone to challenge him. Behind him was Devin Brooks, stocky and loud, his laughter echoing like a car alarm. The third, Jaden Wells, hung back, his eyes darting nervously, a vape pen tucked in his pocket. They weren't from Sweet Auburn, but they'd been hanging around lately, restless and looking for trouble. Malik scanned the diner, his gaze landing on Isaiah's booth. "Yo, check out G.I. Joe over there," Malik said, loud enough for the room to hear. He pointed at Isaiah's jacket. "What's good, Pops? You auditioning for Saving Private Ryan or what?" Devin snorted, slapping the table. "Man, that jacket's older than my grandma. Bet it smells like mothballs." A few heads turned, but no one spoke. Miss Clara paused, her rag still in hand, her lips tightening. Jamal leaned out from the kitchen, frowning. Isaiah didn't look up. He turned a page in his newspaper, his fork steady as he scooped a bite of grits. The trio sauntered closer, Malik leading the charge. "Yo, old man, you deaf or just ignoring us?" Malik leaned against Isaiah's booth, his shadow falling across the table. "What's with the army getup? You cosplaying or something?" Jaden shifted uncomfortably, muttering, "Malik, chill, man. He's just eating." "Nah, I'm curious," Malik said, his voice mocking. "Tell us a war story, Grandpa. You stormed the beaches or just peel potatoes?" The diner grew tense, the air heavy with unspoken words. Isaiah set down his fork, his movements slow and deliberate. He looked up at Malik, his eyes calm but piercing. "You boys lost?" he asked, his voice low and steady, like gravel under boots. Malik laughed, but it was forced. "Lost? Nah, we just wondering why you're taking up space, acting like you own the place." Isaiah's gaze didn't waver. "I'm eating breakfast. Same as everyone else." Devin stepped forward, emboldened. "Man, you think that patch makes you special? My cousin's got one of those from a thrift store. Ain't nobody impressed." Miss Clara slammed her rag on the counter. Y'all better watch your mouths, she snapped. This ain't the place for that mess. Malik turned, smirking. Oh, what, you his bodyguard now? Relax, Auntie, we're just having fun. Fun's over, Jamal called from the kitchen, his voice firm. He stepped out, a spatula in hand, his eyes locked on Malik. Show some respect or get out. The tension thickened, but Isaiah raised a hand, silencing Jamal. Let em talk, he said quietly. Folks like this always run out of words eventually. Malik's smirk faltered, but he doubled down. Run out? Nah, we got plenty to say. Like how you sitting here acting all high and mighty when you probably never saw a battlefield. The elderly woman knitting looked up, her voice sharp. You don't know a thing about that man. He's done more for this community than you'll ever understand. Malik waved her off. Community? What, fixing flats and handing out candy? Big deal. Isaiah sipped his coffee, unhurried. You ever do anything for someone without expecting a thank you? He asked, his tone almost gentle. Malik blinked, caught off guard, but recovered quickly. Don't flip this on me, old man. We're talking about you. The diner was a powder keg, waiting for a spark. No one noticed the faint hum of sirens in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The sirens were unmistakable now, sharp and insistent, cutting through the diner's tension like a knife. Outside, red and blue lights flashed, reflecting off the windows. Malik, Devin, and Jaden froze, their bravado crumbling as two police cars screeched to a halt in front of the community center next door. Customers craned their necks, murmuring. Miss Clara hurried to the window, her face tight with worry. What's going on? Devin muttered, his voice quieter now. Jaden peered outside, his vape pen forgotten. Looks like trouble at the center. Cops everywhere. Isaiah set down his coffee, his expression unreadable. He slid out of the booth, his movements fluid despite his limp, and headed for the door. Malik scoffed, trying to regain control. Where you going, Pops? Gonna play hero? Isaiah didn't answer. He pushed through the door, the bell jangling behind him. The trio exchanged glances, their confidence shaken. Jamal followed Isaiah, calling out, Mr. T, wait up. Curiosity got the better of Malik. Come on, he said, motioning to Devin and Jaden. Let's see what's up. Outside, chaos unfolded. The community center's front doors were propped open, and a crowd had gathered on the sidewalk. Two officers stood near the entrance, radios crackling. A woman in a center staff shirt was speaking frantically, gesturing toward the building. Isaiah approached her, his voice calm but firm. What's happening, Tanya? Tanya, a program coordinator in her 30s, looked relieved to see him. Isaiah, thank God. It's bad. Some kids are trapped in the rec room. There's a gas leak, smelled it during the morning class. Fire department's on the way, but the kids are scared. Isaiah nodded, his jaw tightening. How many? 6, maybe 7. The door's jammed, and the windows are barred. We can't get to them. Malik, Devin, and Jaden lingered at the edge of the crowd, watching. Devin nudged Malik. What's he gonna do? He's, like, 100 years old. Shut up, Jaden hissed, his eyes fixed on Isaiah. Isaiah turned to the officers. I know that building. There's a maintenance hatch in the back. It's tight, but it leads to the rec room. One officer, a young man with a clipboard, looked skeptical. Sir, we can't let civilians. I'm not asking permission, Isaiah cut in, his voice carrying an authority that silenced the officer. Those kids need help now. Tanya grabbed his arm. Isaiah, you can't go in there. It's dangerous. I've been in worse, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. He started toward the alley behind the center, his limp barely slowing him. Malik laughed nervously. Man's crazy. He's gonna get himself killed. But something in Isaiah's resolve tugged at Jaden. He stepped forward, hesitant. Yo, maybe we should help. Malik rolled his eyes.
Help! You tripping. Let the cops handle it. Jaden didn't move. Those are kids, man.
What if it was your little brother? The words hit Malik harder than he'd admit. He glanced at Devon, who shrugged, then back at Isaiah, already disappearing into the alley.
Fine, Malik muttered. But if I die, I'm haunting you. The trio followed, their footsteps uncertain.
In the alley, Isaiah was prying open a rusted hatch with a crowbar he'd grabbed from a maintenance shed.
The smell of gas was faint but unmistakable. He glanced at the three young men, his expression neutral. You here to gawk or help? Malik bristled. We don't take orders from you.
Then leave, Isaiah said, turning back to the hatch. Or grab that flashlight.
Jaden picked up a flashlight from the shed, handing it to Isaiah. Devon and Malik exchanged uneasy looks but stayed put. Isaiah crawled into the hatch, the beam of light swallowed by darkness.
The trio hesitated, then followed, coughing as the gas stung their throats. Inside, the crawlspace was cramped, lined with pipes and cobwebs. Isaiah moved with purpose, his breathing steady despite the conditions. Malik muttered curses under his breath, but Jaden kept pace, his flashlight shaking slightly.
How you know this place so well? Jaden asked.
Built half of it, Isaiah said, his voice muffled.
Back in '95. After I got back. Back from where? Devon pressed, ducking under a low beam. Isaiah didn't answer.
They reached a grate leading to the rec room. Through the slats, they could see the kids ages 8 to 12 huddled in a corner, coughing and crying. One girl clutched a basketball, her eyes wide with fear.
Stay low, Isaiah called to them. Cover your mouths. We're coming.
He worked the grate loose, his hands steady despite the strain.
Malik watched, his earlier mockery forgotten. Man, you done this before?
Isaiah glanced at him, his eyes hard but not unkind.
Too many times.
The grate fell away, and Isaiah crawled through, helping the kids out one by one.
Malik, Devon, and Jaden followed, their movements clumsy but determined.
The gas was thicker now, making their eyes water. Isaiah guided the kids back through the crawlspace, his voice a steady anchor.
Keep moving. Don't stop.
Outside, the fire department had arrived, their hoses ready. The kids were handed off to paramedics, coughing but safe. The crowd cheered, but Isaiah didn't linger. He leaned against the wall, catching his breath, his jacket smudged with grime.
Malik, Devon, and Jaden stood nearby, their hoodies damp with sweat. For once, they were silent, their eyes on Isaiah.
Tanya approached, tears in her eyes.
Isaiah, you saved them. Again. Again? Jaden echoed, confused.
Tanya looked at him, her voice soft.
You don't know who he is, do you?
Back in the diner, the mood had shifted. The rescued kids were wrapped in blankets, sipping juice at the counter. The crowd had thinned, but those who remained buzzed with quiet awe. Isaiah sat in his booth, his coffee cold, his jacket draped over the seat. Malik, Devon, and Jaden hovered near the door, unsure whether to stay or leave.
Miss Clara set a fresh plate of cornbread in front of Isaiah.
You eat, she said, her tone leaving no room for debate.
Heroes don't starve on my watch. Isaiah gave a small smile. I'm no hero, Clara.
Tell that to those kids, she retorted, walking away. Tanya entered, carrying a framed photo from the community center.
She placed it on Isaiah's table, her voice gentle. Thought they should see this.
The photo showed a younger Isaiah, his face streaked with dust, carrying a child out of a collapsed building.
The caption read, Sergeant Isaiah Thompson, Gulf War, 1991.
Malik leaned closer, his bravado gone.
That's you?
Isaiah nodded, his eyes on the photo.
Kuwait. Oil field fire. Building went down with civilians inside. Devon swallowed hard. You saved them?
Some, Isaiah said, his voice heavy.
Not all.
Jamal joined them, his spatula gone, his expression serious. Mr. T doesn't talk about it, but he's the reason this center exists.
Came back from the war, saw kids with no place to go, and built it brick by brick. Malik frowned, struggling to process. Why you never say nothing? You let us clown you like that? Isaiah looked at him, his gaze steady. Words don't prove a man. Actions do. The elderly woman from earlier approached, her knitting needles tucked away. You boys mocked him, but you don't know what he's carried. He came home to a country that didn't want him. Fought for us, then fought for his place here. Jaden's voice was barely a whisper. What happened? After the war? Isaiah exhaled, his hands folded. Got spit on at the airport. Called names I won't repeat. Couldn't get a job for months. But I had my daughter to raise. Kept going. Tanya touched the framed photo. This man's been saving people his whole life. Those kids today? That's just another day for him. Malik's jaw tightened, his eyes glistening. We didn't know. You didn't ask, Miss Clara said from the counter, her voice sharp but not cruel. The door jangled, and a man in his 30s entered, his face lighting up when he saw Isaiah. Mr. T. Heard you were at it again. He turned to the trio, his smile fading. Y'all the ones giving him trouble? Isaiah raised a hand. They helped, Marcus. Let it go. Marcus, a former student of Isaiah's, shook his head. Helped? After what they said? Man, you're too good. The weight of their actions pressed down on Malik, Devin, and Jaden. They'd walked in thinking they could own the room, but now they stood exposed, their pride stripped away. The diner was nearly empty now, the afternoon light casting long shadows across the floor. Isaiah finished his cornbread, his movements unhurried. Malik, Devin, and Jaden lingered, their earlier swagger replaced by something raw and uncertain. Malik stepped forward, his voice low. Mr. Thompson. I'm sorry. We didn't know who you were. Isaiah looked up, his expression soft but firm. It's not about who I am. It's about who you choose to be. Devin rubbed his neck, his voice cracking. We messed up. Big time. How do we make it right? Isaiah studied them, his eyes searching. You want to make it right? Start by showing up. Help at the center. Fix what's broken. Be better. Jaden nodded, his hands in his pockets. We'll do it. Whatever you need. Miss Clara snorted from the counter. Better mean it. Those kids don't need empty promises. The trio exchanged glances, their resolve hardening. Malik spoke for them all. We mean it. Isaiah stood, pulling on his jacket. Good. Starts tomorrow. 8 a.m. Don't be late. As he walked toward the door, Marcus called out, You're letting them off easy, Mr. T. Isaiah paused, turning back. Nobody's off easy. Life's the real teacher. Outside, the community center stood quiet, its doors open, ready for another day. Malik, Devin, and Jaden watched Isaiah go, their hearts heavy but determined. They'd come to mock a man they didn't understand, but in seconds, his courage had changed them. They begged for mercy not from Isaiah, but from themselves, vowing to earn the respect they'd so carelessly thrown away. The diner's bell jangled as the door closed, and Grace's kitchen hummed with the promise of redemption.